lots of things broken, but this is the beautiful wooded, it's actually my neighbor's lot behind us. There's our shed that's in bad shape, and there's a horse farm, but just a beautiful, I sit here on this like metal swing here pretty much every morning for at least 10 minutes for my peace of mind, or that's been my routine since I have been able to. I used to not be allowed to even go outside. There was always so much work to be done, and it was always me to do it all. Me and my now 25-year-old, but I was even restricted from going on walks. And that crazy submission doctrine had me not really okay, but complying with injustice screaming from within. So today, my soon-to-be ex is supposed to be moving back in. He wasn't going to tell me. He was just going to show up. And I'm just so glad that I at least had the heads up from me trying to interact with him about him. When was he going to see the kids? I had no idea that he was going to be doing this to me. But I'm going to switch this around. I look kind of rough, but so it's early this morning, and I came out here to sit, and I feel very strong, but I did start crying a little bit, and and I was like, just talking. I don't know if we really have spirit guides. I tend to think there's something, but I was like just kind of talking out loud to myself, or / spirit guides, just talking out loud, saying it like it's just so unfair. And this beautiful bluebird, I'm going to switch it back around. It was in my neighbor's yard, but there's like some trees and stuff there. But this little bluebird, I don't know if it was truly a bluebird, but it was a very bluebird, by color I mean, and it came and it swooped from that one tree, and it kind of did this like loop, and the whole time it was singing this song, which I cannot whistle, so I will not try, but it was singing a beautiful song. And I had just said how it's so unfair, and then I saw the bird, and as the bird was doing its like U-turn and flying back where it had come from, what did I say? I said, I see you, and I hear your beautiful song. I was just talking to the bird, and then I had this, epiphany, aha moment, and I felt like Spirit was saying to me through what I had just said to the bird, that's what's gonna be. I have a story to tell, and what I said to the bird is what someone might not say those very words to me, but that's going to be the reason that this is happening. I have faith that that is the reason. I see you, because no one's seen me all these years, even though I've begged for help, especially in any Christian churches. No one's seen me. Even my children, who are now grown, no one has seen. Even though they've been right here, they haven't seen. And I have a song, and I know I have a song to write, to sing, to make up the music for. I have multiple songs. I have so much in me. I look pretty rough right now, but I have so much in me. And so I had this epiphany. This is what I said to the bird. I see you, and I hear your beautiful song. And I just know that that bird was sent at the very second I had said, very second after I had just said, kind of in more of a, just looking at the truth. Like, this is not fair. I'm not depressed or anything, but just, facing reality. And I had been saying before that there doesn't really seem to be justice in the justice system, but if I could be used with this contested case I have, that I now don't have a lawyer for, and I never would have filed a contested case and without a lawyer, and I thought about, whatever you call it, like withdrawing it, But, you know, I'm more inclined to represent myself and use this time that I won't have my kids to get some library books and educate myself on how to do this. I know it's called pro se, but to represent myself. And, you know, like, maybe it'll cost me something even in like lesser visits with my kids. I've heard of moms, even, it's almost like if you bring up the domestic abuse in a divorce case, even if it's contested, you run the risk of, you know, being fined or starting to have supervised visits with your children that you then have to pay a person who's the person to be the supervisor. And it can quickly turn into you losing the right to have your kids, to even have a visit with them. And that's fucked up. And I had just been saying out loud, like I said, to myself / to my spirit guides, to spirit, God, that, you know, there's not justice, and if I can be used to change that in any way, shape, or form, I want to. It's worth it to me, because, you know, to spend almost 3 decades being mistreated and everyone act like you're supposed to just push it under the rug and not really care and let it go. I can let go, but there's such an injustice still being like displaced. He's cut off my money, which was his Navy retirement, being direct deposited, you know. He's cut off my money and it's all goes to him. It's his, you know. I'm just the wife, right? So it's like he's changed the direct deposit. There's not currently any spousal support, or, you know, we're not divorced yet, but there's no alimony. There's no anything in place. It's like fucked up on a lot of levels. And I'm not all about money, and I know I'm not going to be starving. My mom would not let me be starving. I also don't want to be a financial burden to anybody, but I just mean on the level of like fairness. It's fucked up. But I really feel like I got this word from Spirit today through the bird, and that's why I went ahead and grabbed my phone. And yeah, so my kids, oh, another thing, this morning I was still in bed. My 5-year-old, I always wake up really early, but my 5-year-old, he often will come in there with me and just lay beside me for just a few minutes. Not very long as he's gotten older, but he just turned 5 very recently. He came in bed, got in bed with me, and he said, "Mommy, today Daddy's taking us away from you, even though we came out of your belly." And I was like, "What?" Because I mean, I thought I heard him right, but he talked softly and he repeated himself, and I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't say anything. I just hugged him. I was already hugging him, and then he, you know, he was ready to get right out the bed and go run and play. So and then I actually just like got my phone and jotted that down on a note app so I could remember it word for word, because I feel like it was very profound for his little 5-year-old, just turned 5-year-old self. And it just shows me, like, you know, we think like little children don't comprehend things sometimes. I think we don't give people credit. I know no one gives me credit. It gives me credit of what I understand as a 45-year-old woman. But, you know, like, if my brand new 5-year-old gets a lot of the injustice of what's happening, that comforts me, because there's nothing he can do about it, but I feel like there's nothing I can do about it at this point. I am going to try to do something. I'm not going to try to physically take any of my kids with me today, because I was assaulted when I tried to leave this spouse 2+ years ago. So why would I do that? Like, I'm not stupid. I know what he's capable of. But that might be the first thing that someone asks me. "Oh, and you just left your kids?" I mean, I can even see a judge saying that to me. And that just would show their inability to comprehend what domestic abuse is, and how imbalanced the power dynamic, that there is a power dynamic, that there isn't like equalness or sameness. Because so far my experience has been with my lawyer, that I don't have anymore, and just in general, the the thoughts and the comments that are made is kind of like, well, yes, but you would do better not to mention that. You would do better just to, you know, the judge isn't really going to want to hear that. Like, that's so fucked up, you know? So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I'm not saying that I'm going to be able to accomplish anything more than any other mother in this predicament has been able to, but I'm going to try. I'm going to give it my best shot. You know, you fuck with me for almost 3 decades, you screw me over continually, even after I leave your ass 2 years ago. Yeah, I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm not gonna sit on my hands. But then there does become a point of how much energy we give something. I've learned about that just in the last year, less than a year. How much energy we give. And even thinking about something, even when we think about someone who's done us wrong, we're sending them energy. And, you know, so there's this element there. It's like kind of tricky of knowing how much do you relinquish, so you cut that cord of energetic tie, or how much do you try to fight for, whether it's custody of the kids or, you know, some money to be able to, like, I should, after this long of being a stay-at-home mom and not having a college degree, I should be able to get some kind of training. I shouldn't have to work at Walmart. Like I've said before, this is not a knock on anyone who does, and I have worked at Walmart before when I was 18 as a cashier, but so it's not to knock that, okay? But what I mean is that that's, you know, that's not necessarily what most people want to aim for. I shouldn't have to be put in a predicament of always just making like a bare minimum, scrounging for the rest of my life, which I don't believe I will. But I'm saying, like, the financial abuse, the financial bind for giving to everyone else for so long, and for someone to think that they can just, yeah, displace you. I've been living here for 2 years. He's just gonna come. But like I said yesterday when I made the video originally about him moving back in, is he was going to just show up today, and that is what is really just kills me. That to me would have been so much more traumatic to the kids, to me. Can you imagine me trying to like even scrounge and get some of my things together? And just like, I'm sure I would have been like much more on the like, just because of the shock, I would have been more like frantic and crying, and just, and then that the kids would have seen me not like maybe being able to hold myself together. Like I might still cry today, depending upon how my kids are tugging at me, but I'm going to be able, for the most part, to keep my composure. But the surprise element, the shock factor that he was going for, would have allowed me so much less of like control over that. How about the children, as they might feel torn, and they might still feel torn today, but if there was that shock value and I had not told them, because I found out yesterday, and so therefore I did tell them, I thought about what would be better for them, and I felt like not shocking them would be better. And it's just fucked up on so many levels for this, you know, for this adult, their dad, to not really even consider like what that might do to them. I know he doesn't care about what it would do to me, but I don't think he really has the ability of caring for anybody but himself. And that's the scary part too, is, you know, his inability to have empathy or to be reasonable. And he's going to be the one caring for the children until I can, you know, do something about that, which I don't know if, you know, it all depends on so many circumstances of what kind of judge you get, what their mindset is. You know, the judge who did our mediation was 80-some years old, so even just from his age, he was a white male, 80-some years old. Don't tell me he didn't fully subscribe to the wife submitting kind of biblical in our culture still, even still in our culture, even though we have all kinds of freedom since then. But like with his age alone and race, he didn't know anything about oppression. He didn't know anything about anything in that regard. I'm not saying he doesn't know anything about law. I'm just saying his mindset would have matched the abusive spouse. I am 100% convinced of that. So yeah, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. Anyway, here goes nothing. My new life, and I am looking at things as it is a complete closing of a chapter, and it is a fresh start, a new beginning. Might not be all the pieces might not be in place the way I would if I was writing a play. Casting myself into this position, no. But I feel like no matter what is thrown at me, I have the ability to, not without tears, but I do have the ability of looking at the brighter side of any circumstance. And that is power. That's power that nobody can take away from me. So